G'day and welcome from Tasmania, down under, and the XS1100 Cafe Racer project. I call this project Basket Case because essentially that's what the bike was when I found it. Now I've been drooling over Cafe Racer projects on hours and hours of YouTube video and magazine photographs and just the whole culture that's been developing around the world. It is the latest craze in motorcycles, and there's a lot of builders out there doing high-end builds and taking it to new levels beyond my scope and capability here in my single car garage. However, I did start this project with intent. I actually physically went out and sourced CB450 Honda, a 1974. You can see it in the background behind me. The intent was to use that bike as the donor bike for my Cafe Racer project. Now, this was met with a lot of resistance from friends and family that said, look, Andy, that's a nice bike, you don't want to pull that apart and enhance it. So I did fall in love with the bike, and it's a beautiful thing to ride, and to be honest with you, I think that it will hang on to its value, and it'll be a bike that I can keep for a long time and enjoy. So I decided to leave it as is. So I parked the idea, I parked the project, and thought about maybe sourcing another one down the track as funds became available. However, as luck would have it, out of the blue I received a phone call, as you do. People know you're into bikes and into projects, and a friend of my wife, thank you Keisha, rang up and said that her dad's old bike was in mum's backyard and it had to go. It was destined for the scrap heap, to be honest. When I went and looked at it, I thought, oh, what am I getting into? But I made an offer on the bike that was reasonable. She accepted that offer, and I put it on a trailer and I brought it home. So it turned out to be a 1981 XS1100, which is a good year to get if you're going to get an XS. They race these things in the Castrol series through the 70s, and the earlier model frames had a lot of inherent flex. So Yamaha boys did what the race boys were doing, and they welded a heap of gussets and stiffened it right up and made a better bike out of it. So that was a bit of luck that it was an 81. It was also, in terms of aesthetics, probably not the prettiest bike that Yamaha ever built. Now there's a lot of XS guys out there cringing, I can hear you, but it does polarise people, this bike. It was aimed at the North American market. It had a peanut tank, raked up front end, sort of like American built cruisers, and I didn't like the look, so it was a challenge. The challenge was going to be to make this bike look like something that was assembled in Europe in the 1950s, more so than something in Japan in the late 70s and shot at the American market. So that had its own issues. There was a lot of hard, because the bike isn't overly popular in terms of people wanting to hang on to it. It's not a CB750 or something like that. So it became hard to find parts, very difficult to source parts. So I've had to source parts from Europe, from Asia, from America, from Australia. I've been lucky enough to find quite a few here in Tas. So it's all been an adventure, and I didn't take a lot of video, unfortunately, and I apologise in the early stages of the build, but I've got a few photos that we've strung together, as well as some later stages video footage. So sit back, enjoy the journey that is the XS1100 Basket Case Cafe Racer project.